Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving deep into the dusty archives of history to uncover some incredible truths that were once dismissed as pure fiction. You know how some stories sound way too wild to be true? Well, what if I told you some of them actually happened? We're about to explore 7 so-called myths that turned out to be shockingly real. Get ready to have your mind blown, because history is way stranger than you think. Let's kick things off with something straight out of a fantasy novel. Amazon warrior women. For centuries, the ancient Greeks told tales of the Amazons, a fierce tribe of female fighters who were masters of the bow and lived on the fringes of the known world. Historians mostly laughed this off, calling it a male fantasy or a cautionary tale about what happens when women step out of their traditional roles. But then, archaeology stepped in. In the 1990s, excavations of ancient burial mounds, or kurgans, across the Eurasian steppes started revealing something astonishing. They found skeletons of women buried with full sets of weapons: bows, arrows, axes, and swords. Many of these skeletons showed battle wounds, proving they weren't just ceremonial items. These women were warriors, living a nomadic life on horseback, just like the legends described. It turns out the Amazon myth wasn't a myth at all, but a Greek interpretation of a very real and powerful culture of Scythian warrior women. So, next time you watch Wonder Woman, remember her real-life sisters who once roamed the steppes. Next up, let's talk about the legendary city of Troy. For thousands of years, the story of the Trojan War, with heroes like Achilles and Hector and the infamous Trojan horse, was considered just that, a story. Homer's epic poem, the Iliad, was seen as brilliant literature, but not a historical document. The city of Troy itself was thought to be as mythical as Atlantis. That is, until a passionate amateur archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann came along in the 1870s. He was obsessed with Homer's epics and believed they contained geographical clues. Following the descriptions in the Iliad, he began digging at a site in modern-day Turkey called Hisarlik. And what did he find? The ruins of a massive, ancient city, with multiple layers built on top of each other. One of these layers, known as Troy 7, showed evidence of a violent destruction around the same time the Trojan War was thought to have occurred. While Schliemann made some controversial moves, and might have even faked some discoveries, his core finding was undeniable. He had found Troy. The war itself might not have happened exactly as Homer described, with meddling gods and 10-year sieges, but the legendary city was real, and it met a fiery end. Have you ever heard of the curse of the Pharaohs? The legend goes that anyone who dares to disturb the tomb of an Egyptian pharaoh will suffer a mysterious and untimely death. This idea exploded into popular culture after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922 by Howard Carter. Soon after the tomb was opened, several people connected to the expedition died under strange circumstances. Lord Carnarvon, the expedition's sponsor, died from an infected mosquito bite. Other deaths followed, and the newspapers had a field day, fueling the myth of the curse. For decades, it was dismissed as sensationalism and coincidence. But recent science has offered a fascinating twist. Ancient tombs, sealed for millennia, can be breeding grounds for dangerous, dormant pathogens. We're talking about toxic molds and bacteria like Aspergillus niger, which can cause severe respiratory infections, especially in people with weakened immune systems. When the tomb was opened, these ancient microbes could have been released into the air. So while it wasn't a magical curse laid down by a vengeful spirit, the curse of the pharaohs might have been a very real biological hazard. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the deadliest monsters are the ones you can't see. Let's sail from the sands of Egypt to the cold northern seas. For centuries, sailors told tales of monstrous waves, walls of water that could appear out of nowhere in the open ocean and swallow ships whole. Scientists and oceanographers were highly skeptical. Their models suggested that waves in the open ocean rarely exceeded about 15 meters, or 50 feet. These stories of 100-foot rogue waves were chalked up to sailors. Exaggerations and tall tales told over a bottle of rum. Then, on New Year's Day 1995, everything changed. An oil rig in the North Sea, the Dropner platform, was equipped with state-of-the-art laser measuring devices. During a massive storm, it recorded a single, monstrous wave that was 26 meters, or 85 feet, high. It was more than twice the height of the surrounding waves, and it defied all existing scientific models. They called it the Dropner wave. This was the first, irrefutable proof that rogue waves were real. Since then, satellite data has confirmed they happen more frequently than anyone thought. The sailors weren't lying. They were facing a very real and terrifying phenomenon that science is only now beginning to understand. Now for a tale that sounds like it was ripped straight from a horror movie. The Viking Berserkers. Norse sagas describe these warriors as fighting in a trance-like fury, a state they called Berserkers. They were said to howl like wild animals, bite their shields, and be immune to pain from steel or fire. They'd charge into battle without armor, creating chaos and terror among their enemies. For a long time, historians debated what could cause this behavior. Some thought it was a ritualistic frenzy, while others suggested it was caused by consuming hallucinogenic mushrooms like amanita. A more recent and compelling theory, however, points to a psychological condition. Some scholars now believe the berserker state was a form of self-induced hysteria, a dissociative psychological state brought on by prenatal rituals. By working themselves into a rage, they could block out fear and pain, similar to some modern psychological phenomena seen in high-stress situations. So, while they might not have been literally immune to fire, the terrifying, unstoppable fury of the berserkers was a very real and effective weapon of psychological warfare. Let's move on to a creature feature. Have you ever heard of the Kraken? This legendary sea monster, said to haunt the waters off Norway and Greenland, was described as a giant beast with massive tentacles, capable of pulling entire ships down to the depths. It was the boogeyman of the high seas, a story to scare new sailors. For centuries, it was considered pure myth, a symbol of the terrors of the unknown ocean. But what if the legend was based on a real animal? Enter the giant squid. For a long time, the only evidence we had of these creatures were decomposed remains, washed ashore or found in the stomachs of sperm whales. They were real, but their size and behavior were a mystery. Then, in 2004, Japanese researchers captured the first ever images of a live giant squid in its deep-sea habitat, and in 2012 they filmed one. These animals are enormous, reaching lengths of up to 13 meters, or 43 feet. Imagine you're a sailor in a small wooden ship centuries ago, and one of these massive, tentacled creatures surfaces next to you. It's not hard to see how the legend of the Kraken was born. The myth wasn't fiction. It was an encounter with one of the planet's most elusive and awe-inspiring megafauna. Finally, let's talk about a lost world. The legend of a Greenland in the North Atlantic, a land of lush pastures and fertile soil, sounds like a paradise. This was the story told by Eric the Red, the Viking explorer, who convinced hundreds of settlers to follow him to a new home he named Greenland. Around the year 985, for a long time, people thought the name was just a clever marketing trick, a lie to lure people to a frozen wasteland. We all know Greenland today is mostly covered in a massive ice sheet. But here's the twist. Eric the Red might not have been lying. Climate data from ice cores and sediment samples shows that during the time of the Viking settlement, from about 900 to 1300 AD, the Earth was experiencing something called the medieval warm period. During this era, temperatures in the North Atlantic were significantly warmer than they are today. The southern coastal regions of Greenland would have been genuinely greener, with birch woodlands and meadows capable of supporting livestock. The Vikings successfully farmed there for several centuries. The paradise wasn't permanent, though. When the climate shifted to the Little Ice Age, the settlements collapsed. But, for a time, the myth of a Greenland in the Arctic was a reality. So there you have it, 7 incredible stories that blur the line between myth and history. From Amazon warriors and the city of Troy to real-life sea monsters and cursed tombs. It just goes to show that truth can be far more fascinating than fiction. History isn't just a collection of dusty facts. It's a living, breathing story that's constantly being rewritten as we discover more. Which of these surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you next time.